Winston Churchill exhorted us never to waste a good crisis. COVID-19 has forced us into a prolonged timeout. It has brought radical lifestyle changes. As we move into a calibrated opening up, it is time for us to begin contemplating the end of the crisis. Envision what the world will look like in its aftermath, how the pandemic will change the way we live and work, and what we need to do to adjust to the new normal of the post-COVID world. Audible now?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, good. Today, I will present 3 arguments to you. First, I argue that the new normal of the post-COVID world will see major changes in our professional world. I see 3 vectors of professional change: the accelerated importance and use of information technology, unconventional ways of working, including freelancing and work from home, and increased inter-organizational and intersectoral collaborations and networks. Second, I argue that these changes will demand personal transformations from each of us, of which 3 are cardinal: embracing uncertainty and change, becoming a continuous learner, and practicing personal and collective social responsibility. My third and final argument is that capacity building is the single enabler and tool available to us to navigate the changes that we will confront in the professional and personal world. To leverage capacity building, we need to harness youth who are outside the formal education institutional network, focus on the frontline and backroom workers who are vital to decision making and implementation, and design training programs so as to train teams and not just individuals. These, in essence, are my 3 arguments. Why has COVID-19 thrust this imperative upon us? Does a crisis by itself ensure reform? Every great crisis to mankind has seen a period of confusion, followed quickly by rapid counter responses. In challenging times, we question accepted realities, devise quick solutions, often outside the usual compass, some of which may be effective enough to become normal quotidian practice. This was demonstrated in the world wars as well as in pandemics such as the Spanish flu. History also suggests that the global economy is remodeled in significant ways after a major crisis like COVID-19, spurring the adoption of new technological strategies and business models. The SARS outbreak in 2003 is seen as a causal factor for the adoption of online shopping by China, which resulted in Alibaba's rise. Balance of payments crisis in India led to the paradigm shift of liberalization, globalization, and privatization. The economic and humanitarian crisis unleashed by COVID-19 is thus an opportunity to reform sectors such as skilling, healthcare, the unorganized sector, and education, which are the underpinnings of our political economy. What changes will we see in the post-COVID professional world? We are witnessing several shifts that are taking place in the world of work. The multi-sectoral acceleration of information and technology, the advent of freelancing and work from home modes, and the need for lateral, cross-sectoral and inter-organizational collaboration are 3 such seminal changes. Let us look at each of them in turn. The advent of technology. The CEO of IBM, speaking in an online forum, said, "History would look back on this moment as the moment when the digital transformation of business and society suddenly accelerated. COVID-19 has increased digitalization in all spheres of our professional world, whether it is education, healthcare, governance, or entertainment. As schools closed in many parts of the world, e-learning and e-delivery of education saw a smart breakthrough. States like Karnataka launched the Makkalavani or Children's Voice for disseminating educative and entertaining content to children. Will the change roll back once we are over the pandemic? Even while keeping teachers integral to the education process, there will be a new flexibility and agility with curated content through platforms like Coursera and entirely new learning experiences through artificial intelligence, virtual intelligence, and mixed experience tools. Healthcare is seeing similar changes. Digital efforts in Wuhan to contain the crisis via smartphone trackers demonstrated a powerful new public health tool. Kerala Police launched Project Eagle Eye to use drones for surveillance during the lockdown, using technology as a tool to complement manual surveillance in topography which is inaccessible, such as pocket roads and open fields where jeeps cannot traverse. In the entertainment industry, Netflix and Amazon Prime saw a big boost. Netflix viewer numbers have swelled as lockdowns across countries kept people at home. Even the requirements of daily activities need digital navigation. As people have been forced physically apart, they turn to video calls on WhatsApp. All these demonstrate the growing acceptance of technology to help us feel connected. As people become more comfortable with technology and service providers upgrade their infrastructures, creating a better pipeline and more streamlined and user-friendly interfaces, technology becomes easier to live with day to day. Second, the growth of freelancing and work from home modes. COVID-19 has propelled us to experiment with work from home on an unprecedented scale. As the CEO of Wipro put it, this will define a new normal for a lot of industries and will create new opportunities for us to be able to do more work globally. WFH has gone beyond our quotidian processes and scaled new innovative heights. India demonstrated this in the Facebook Geo deal. The US $5.7 billion investment by Facebook in Reliance Industries Geo platforms set a new standard in remote negotiation with extensive M&A dialogue happening online, even including due diligence and agreement negotiations. This is one of the biggest deals that took place when there was a nationwide lockdown in both India and the US, the two countries where the two parties of this deal are based. Transactions of this magnitude, especially transnational ones, usually involve considerable travel and face-to-face meetings by the higher management and their financial and legal advisors. This time, however, all this happened online. The second shift that we may expect is the emergence of the gig economy. Each of us will have to get used to becoming a freelancer. Remote hiring of technical talent will become the norm. Even before COVID-19, we were seeing permanent employers such as governments and universities cutting down on hiring and increasingly outsourcing even their core functions. While this may create job insecurity, it is not necessarily a bad thing or even a new one. Take a surgeon. She is attached to one hospital, but she consults in many hospitals. Some surgeons even consult online and earns remuneration from multiple organizations. A talented and skilled individual can peddle her expertise across organizations and be paid by all of them. Remote hiring of talent will become the norm, with corporate positions opening up to skilled candidates everywhere, prioritizing skills over pedigree and geography, all of which is good news for both the economy and the talent pool. It makes talent pools more diverse and businesses and economies stronger. Third, cooperation and collaboration. Gig economy and pervasive freelancing will bring in cooperation and coordination across sectoral silos. As freelancing becomes prevalent, teams will be self-created rather than being curated by leaders and will be more interdependent, more collaborative, more agile, and more flexible. COVID-19 has seen the pharmaceutical giants GlaxoSmithKline and Sanofi forget their commercial rivalry to join hands to build a vaccine, pooling their relative strengths of adjuvant technology and virus antigen, while Google and Apple teamed up to evolve standards for contact tracing. My own department in youth empowerment and NSS Karnataka teamed up with the Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences, NIMANS, and the National Health Mission to provide curated training on COVID-19 response to NSS officers and volunteers, who in turn disseminated this content to communities. All this demands that we build up networks and skills, build each other up professionally with no room for envy or backbiting or jealousy. Next, the post-COVID individual. What personal transformation is required from each of us? Number one, embrace change and uncertainty. Heraclitus said that the only thing that is constant is change. Pragmatism demands that we survive the present moment while building ourselves to thrive in a very different future. In a topsy-turvy world, how does one stay sane and calm? Questions are everywhere. What does the future hold? How will life change? What will the new normal be? Uncertainty is uncomfortable. Yet, change is inevitable, and COVID-19 has only accelerated the pace of change and made it palpable. In such a dynamic and unpredictable situation, those who accept uncertainty and are willing to take swift, decisive, and risky action will hold the advantage. As lockdowns were announced and non-essential businesses were instructed to close, business owners were suddenly faced with the tough choice of either stopping operations completely or finding new ways to provide service. Many restaurants closed their doors but kept their kitchens open, tying up with delivery services like Swiggy and Zomato. Barbers whose salons closed down began to offer home haircut services. Hence, the first personal transformation that the post-COVID challenge demands from us is the realization that change is the only constant and that things may change any moment. This calls upon us to embrace uncertainty, develop equanimity, mental balance, emotional intelligence, and agility of thought and action. Next, become a continuous learner. Continuous learning opens our minds and changes our attitudes. Knowledge is now at our fingertips. To function effectively among this rapidly changing world of technology, we need to learn new things to remain valuable. Those not making use of this opportunity will stagnate. Do not be left behind. Ensure that you remain up to date and keep up with industry trends and adapt your skill sets. Resources for continued learning are many. Read magazines and online articles. Analyze and critique case studies. Subscribe to publications relevant to your work or interests. Connect with global networks using Skype, social media, and email. Attend training courses and webinars. Try MOOCs such as Coursera and edX. Listen to podcasts and watch documentaries. The days when one went through a neat progression of study, work, retire will be replaced by a career of constant personal reinvention and learning with doing. Thus, the second transformation required from all of us is continuous learning. It is vital to prepare yourself for the coming future. Third, collective social responsibility. That is the third and most important self-transformation. We are familiar with CSR or corporate social responsibility, but this is not enough. CSR is still someone else's job. It is up to each of us to adopt personal social responsibility. We each have a duty to each other. Personal social responsibility is easier to practice, say by teaching a child or helping a destitute person in need. But what COVID-19 has brought home to us is a larger collective social responsibility. The health of our communities depends on our individual actions. Thus, it calls upon our collective social responsibility that emphasizes our responsibility to the community. There are many ways in which the pandemic has expanded opportunities for exercising collective social responsibility. We have suddenly and sharply become aware of a joined-up world. Paradoxically, COVID-19, while emphasizing physical distancing, has reminded us of how interconnected our world really is. The virus spread from a market in Wuhan, China, to almost every corner of the globe in just 3 months. Such a public health crisis is a demonstration of how connected we are to the rest of the world. What happens overseas or in a neighboring state can directly and immediately impact our lives in our country, state, or home. As we collectively navigate the COVID-19 public health crisis, there are ways in which we may practice collective social responsibility. It is the general consensus of epidemiologists and public health experts that the only way to counter the spread of COVID-19 is for each of us to follow the discipline and protocols. Wash our hands, keep our distance, stay at home during lockdowns. The health of our family, community, and economy depends on us setting aside personal wants and needs for the good of the whole community. Even in complying with the lockdown, while it might feel that we are sheltering in place to benefit ourselves, paradoxically, we are doing it for the common good. Social distancing causes a disconnection that can be disorienting. While we need to maintain physical distance to stop the spread of the disease, we need social connection more than ever. Therefore, COVID-19 is an opportunity to practice collective social responsibility, helping us overcome our prejudices, reinforce our ethics and values, extend our reach, find ways to reach out and involve, develop curiosity and compassion. Finally, bridging the professional and personal, the criticality of capacity building. COVID-19 has thrown up challenges and changes in our professional world, primarily the importance of technology, the growth of freelancing and work from home, and the increase of lateral and cross-sectoral collaboration. This, in turn, calls for personal transformations from each of us by embracing uncertainty and change, becoming continuous learners, and practicing collective social responsibility. Capacity building is the tool which enables this personal transformation. As we emerge out of the pandemic, it is to be expected that governments and corporates invest in better cities, health, education, technology, and most of all, capacity building. What aspects of capacity building should we as individuals and as a nation focus upon? First, leadership. Every big crisis is a test of leadership. But COVID-19 is not really about political influence or corporate power. It is about the everyday leadership that we as individuals and citizens demonstrate in our daily lives. Therefore, our capacity building should focus as much on qualities and character traits as on specializations. Traits such as calmness and equanimity, skills such as communication and problem solving, the attributes of a strong work ethic and a compassionate worldview. And of course, the leadership that is able to lead with persuasion and influence and not dictate, encourages participation, not hierarchy, and is purpose-led and not power-driven. These should form part of skill development as much as technical skills. Second, the front line and back room become important. In an increasingly digitalized world, with social media creating virtual reality, presence and authenticity become even more important. Decision-making in the pandemic is taken at the higher levels of the medical fraternity or government. But these decisions are crucially dependent on the kind of inputs and information that flow from the bottom, from the lab technician or the ASHA worker who is in the field. Similarly, the decisions taken at the apex level have to be properly disseminated to and understood by each person down the line. Without this, implementation suffers. COVID-19 is not merely a health crisis, but a logistical marathon. Vast quantities of data, medical and non-medical, are being collated, entered, sorted, cleaned, and readied for decision makers by tribes of data entry operators and analysts. As the pandemic progresses, we hear of swabs being improperly labeled, which become useless in determining treatment or containment. It is not the number of beds or ventilators that will determine outcomes, but the quality of the medical personnel. We can procure a bed, but to get a qualified nurse who understands infection control or a pulmonologist is not something that we can procure in a month or two. These are long-term investments and highlight the importance of the frontline and backroom workers and to respect dignity of labor. Third, the focus should be on training teams and not individuals. We saw that the pandemic makes freelancing acceptable, as well as calling for greater collaboration across teams and organizations. It is likely that future teams will comprise permanent, temporary, freelance, and machine employees, and this diversity will call for greater need to build cohesion within the members. Yet our educational system does not prepare us for cross-sectoral coordination of equals. Engineers train with engineers, doctors with doctors, bureaucrats with bureaucrats. Within each fraternity, hierarchy is the fallback option to resolve differences of opinion. But what happens when a policeman has to implement a medical decision made by a doctor based on the data analytics produced by a computer scientist? We get lost in translation as they struggle with their different vocabularies and work processes. To avoid this and to face future crises better, we need to train teams and not individuals. Our pedagogy should mandatorily include case studies, self-reliance and decision-making situations, problem-solving, immersion experiences, and the like. In conclusion, let me say that choices, not crises, determine our opportunities. COVID-19 has changed the world like never before. The global lockdown that we see happening with COVID-19 is unprecedented and perhaps even incomprehensible to human minds. Yet, amidst all this, opportunities lurk. It is time for governments, businesses, and individuals to prepare for the worst, but also prepare themselves to recognize and utilize these opportunities and keep the faith that we may transform to a newer, stronger, and reinvented India. Thank you all very much. Good luck. Jai Hind.
Thank you, ma'am. Though I should have been introducing you at the beginning, the network and probably the electricity went off here. So let me start by introducing, it is on the reverse order, but nevertheless, I want all of you to know Dr. Kalpana Gopalan. She is one of the most eminent personality that I admire. Though it is on the reverse order, let me just introduce ma'am with your permission, though the introduction should have been before your speech. On behalf of Trivandrum Management Association Student Chapter Committee and all the members, I, Wing Commander Agashri Nair, Chairperson, Student Chapter, TMA, extend you a very warm welcome. Dr. Kalpana Gopalan, IAS, PhD, IIMB, Additional Chief Secretary, Labor, Animal Husbandry and Veterinary Sciences, Fisheries and Janaspandana Public Grievances. What more, what less? A day is not enough to read out the accolades of Dr. Kalpana Gopalan. I would try to include as much as possible in the limited time slot given to me to introduce the speaker of the day. It is really an honor, ma'am, to have hosted you. Now, let me correct it in a past tense, to the 5th session of the Enlight series of talk by eminent personalities. Dr. Kalpana Gopalan, IAS, is a composite public policy professional practitioner, policymaker, scholar, author, volunteer, and mother. A daughter of the original 2 states marriage, father a Tamilian, mother a Gujarati, childhood alternated between school days in Madras and holidays in Ahmedabad. She grew up with the responsibility of high expectations, so academic excellence was taken for granted. So evolved a nerd long before the word was even invented. Entering the Indian Administrative Service, India's elite premier civil service, was not a burning ambition for her. Being good in studies, she naturally drifted into a PhD program, but life had other plans. She got into the prestigious Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, but her social science interest and their technological expertise were no great fit. The civil service exam was a fallback option. She prepared with her usual diligence and cleared it in her first try, standing fairly high in merit list. Ranked 19 in the All India Civil Service Examination 1987, now 34-year work experience in the Indian Administrative Service spans land administration, urban management, public distribution system, rural development, sports, labor, animal husbandry, fisheries, public grievances, redressal, training and education, all this under Government of Karnataka. She is recognized with 7 awards for her public service, citations from 14 universities, and 4 fellowship awards for her academic work and felicitated by 9 institutions. Wow. Dr. Kalpana is the recipient of the Mother Teresa's Women Empowerment Award for outstanding contribution to excellence in leadership, the International Human Rights Award under the Women of Courage category 2019, the Sexy Brilliant COVID Leadership Award, the Social Activist Pratibha Samman, the SAARC Nations Human Rights Association Award, the Inspiring Changemaker Giving Economy Award, the Bhavishike Shilpkar Award, Thought Leader Certification of Dr. GSK Social Labs 2020, and the Jennison Outstanding Pathway to Governance Leadership Award 2021. She was recognized as a great warrior of humanity by the International Human Rights Advisory Council for her humanitarian services and best practices on COVID-19 prevention 2020, and was appreciated by UNICEF and Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences for COVID-19 response 2020. She is a LinkedIn Wonder Woman and Inspirational Leader 2020. She was felicitated and awarded citations and commendations by the National Social Scheme Karnataka, Bangalore University, NITTE University, Benapoya University, Mysore University, IJA SRW, Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences, Vishweshwaraya Institute of Technology, We Lead Empowering Women's Growth, Gulbarga University, Jain University, Ramaiah Institute of Technology, Acharya University. The list goes on and on. Honorary Council, Republic of Maldives, and Institution of Engineers of India 2013. She stewarded the NLM UNESCO 2000 Award for Karnataka, and her work in literacy and the Karnataka Ratna Award 2013 for Kaveri Handicrafts. She is the advisor, Bangalore City Corporation, Honorary Consultant, Administrative Training Institute, Mysore, Member Advisory Committee, Public Sector Advisory, Grant Thornton LLP, and Member Advisory Board, Government Blockchain Association of India. A hybrid leader with a unique mix of public service, business school, and academic credential, Kalpana combines a unique mix of academic and practical experience and works collaboratively across the private, public, and not-for-profit sectors. She honed her research skills with a doctorate and master's in public policy with IIM Bangalore. She was rated among the top 2% of doctoral candidates in the past decade for her research on infrastructure public-private partnership. A gold medalist and university topper in her undergraduate and master's, she was a visiting fellow of McGill and Concordia University. If I list out the university, I think I will not be able to complete it in probably another half an hour. She presents papers in national and international fora and has published 4 books and many journal articles. She's a sought after speaker, and we are very lucky to have her today, and has delivered over 450 talks on different aspects of public policy to national and global audience. Kalpana pursues her academic interest as Senior Research Fellow in National Institute of Urban Affairs, New Delhi, Visiting Faculty Fellow in Institute of Social and Economic Change, Bangalore, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, Acharya Bangalore B School, Shimoga, Member Advisory Board, AIMS School of Business, Bangalore. The list is unending. Dr. Kalpana volunteers as advisor, Akshay Patra Foundation, Bangalore, mentor Ashoka Innovators for Public, technical advisor, Grassroots, Research and Advocacy Movement, Mysore. Widely travel in North America, Europe, Asia, Kalpana is comfortable living and working in a multicultural milieu. She relaxes to music and enjoys the company of her husband and 2 children. I am deeply indebted, ma'am, for having, due to all the constraints that we face, still you considered to go on with this and did not break in between. And with your wisdom and the plethora of experience, I'm sure all of us has benefited from this. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you so much. That was very kind.
Jisha?
Yes, ma'am.
You would have got questions.
I request the student participants who are there in the session to raise questions if you have any.
In the meanwhile, while Disha, you are collecting the questions, ma'am, I have a question about, because you said that teamwork is most important during what COVID has taught us in this situation, where cross-sectorial collaboration is what do I say? It is what determines the workforce in future. The skill sets that each of us require for collaboration is various. Like when I'm, as you mentioned, the bureaucrats with bureaucrats, doctors with doctors, engineers with engineers. When I am collaborating, say for example, if I am an engineer and I am collaborating.
Voice is breaking.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Basically, my question is, what is the how emotional intelligence is going to be important?
I hear you, but there are breaks.
Jisha, can you hear me?
I think it's better you type the question.
Questions, okay. How important is emotional intelligence? That is my question.
Critical. But it is not just emotional intelligence in the sense of understanding another's view, but it is also an intellectual intelligence where you partly understand the way that profession works. Now, let us say a doctor, when he gives a medical decision relating to public health and COVID, he should also keep in mind the milieu in which a policeman works, for example, because it is the policeman or the marshal or some social worker who is actually going to implement that decision. So it is not in the simple or conventional sense in which we understand that, I understand your point of view and you understand mine. No, it is much more than that, that I need to understand the milieu in which you are working and tailor my solutions so as to make them implemented. And similarly, the workers in the front line or down the line who are actually implementing, they need to keep their information flow steady and constant. So that changes which we see happening among the public are communicated properly to the decision makers, and decisions can be made effectively. So it is much more than a simple understanding or simpatico, as we say. It is more an intellectual involvement in the other's work. we need to know how other professions work. We all understand how managers understand how managers work, doctors understand how doctors work. But today, doctors need to understand how policemen work, data entry operators need to understand how medical experts work. So that is much more broad-based intellectual understanding.
Hi, ma'am. I would like to ask you a simple question. Like in this time of new normal, could you advise our students, like what are the various kinds of skills they need to update on?
What has always
Hello, ma'am.
been there but has been rather fixed in which you are in. Our non-textbooks come from the US, the theories which we study come from the US, no harm there. But theory needs to be grounded in the reality in which you live and work. So being grounded in your own context. With reference to pedagogy, I think there are any number of tools already available. Immersion is a very good tool. Long immersion experiences where people are able to be in a situation, communication, problem solving, able to work in teams, not just teams comprising your own peers, but teams comprising people from different spheres who may have to work together in a milieu. So a kind of generalist sensibility. That is the kind of training which is required. And the institution should give it to them. Associations like yours should provide that kind of experience.
Jisha?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Actually,
our audio is very poor today.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
While you were answering, also the in between we missed out certain aspects.
I can see that, but I don't know really because the weather is fine.
No, here the weather is bad. I think the weather over this end is bad. Probably that could be.
I don't know really why this is happening. Some breaks. I also lose your speech in between.
Ma'am, could I ask you a question? One more question?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, actually, it's not something which is related to the subject. I just wanted to ask you, you have been into different places, you have taken up different kinds of positions, you have gone to different kinds of places. Just wanted to ask you, what are the various challenges as a woman you have faced?
Type it out. I think that's better. Please type out the question.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, there's a question from Joseph Verghese, which says, "Do work from home will ever happen in the government sector?" Less, I think, than in the private sector. Professions such as financial services, the work from home mode. In government, I hardly had any work from just the first 4 days of lockdown. I was at home and then I was working normally, except that we did maintain the protocols and the distances, but we were not working from home. In times of crisis, government needs to be on site. Government needs to be on the field. So it will be a much slower process. There will be some aspects of governmental working which could be digitized and then adapted to WFH, but not wholesale the way it has happened in legal or financial services. Much less. I think I need the other question to be typed out because I couldn't hear her at all.
The same question has another aspect. If selectively implemented, will it improve the efficacy? That's what same.
I don't know. I don't know whether WFH will per se improve our accountability and efficiency. It is just a mode of working. It will, in the private sector, I can see that it saves a lot of time. But again, as I said, government needs to be on the field. So whether it's going to directly relate or result in increase in accountability and efficiency, I doubt it. Only certain aspects will save more time if we, stop. If we start working from home, but then we can do it only for a small part of government function. Jisha asked the challenges you had to face as a woman in different sectors of life.
Yes,
yeah. See, the thing, after a while, it's not. I think what problems or challenges you face as a professional across the board are same for men and women. So most of the time, I forget that once I step out of my home and even on the way to my office, gender is not the thing on my mind. The work is the thing which is on your mind. The real challenge is not that of gender. At least that has been my experience. The real challenge is to keep the faith amidst the frustrations and disappointments that professional life comes, and keep your ethics and values, regardless of what is happening around you. And that decision I made a very, very long time ago. Even as a student, even before I could articulate this very clearly, I had already, there was this instinct that I would not do anything unethical to reach my goals. So no lying, no cheating, no lobbying, no undercutting others, no backbiting, no jealousy. It saves
It's a tall order.
you a lot of time. It also extracts its price. You don't lie, then you don't have to remember things. You're just speaking the truth, you see. So easier. But you also pay a price because it does extract. Your growth is slower, struggles are more. But then I can say today that Wing Commander Rajeshri, she read out that very long resume of mine. She seems to have done a lot of research, but every single accomplishment in that has been by dint of hard work, intelligence, commitment, never any unethical. I can, that I can, how far can you get by following the ethical path alone? I am an example. So, for good or ill, so I can, say that everything which I accomplished has been accomplished ethically, never hurting and harming anyone, never lying, never cheating, never undercutting anyone, never ever. So that is the real choice, not that of gender. That's the choice as a human being and as a professional.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot for the answer, ma'am.
Any other questions from the participants? Not only students,
Hello?
I would request if others could also
Hello?
ask. Yeah, we can hear you.
Hello, Kalpan ma'am.
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
No, you're
Myself,
not
Dr.
audible.
Prakash,
You're not
at
audible.
the Rajdhani Business School.
To type it out, safer. It's garbled.
Hello, is it audible, ma'am?
Yeah, it is audible.
It's
but what
garbled,
she's
so
saying is
better
it is
type out.
better. Yeah.
Actually, I'm using my mobile, so some difficulty is there to type it.
Okay, you ask
So
the
that's
question.
the
I'll ask on your behalf.
Yeah, thank you so much. So my question is that ma'am said that we are all moving into the new normal. Particularly, we can take the example
You
of
ask
entertainment.
Whoever hears,
Hello?
please type it out.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, we are moving to the new normal. Go on with your question.
Yeah, my question is what kind of new normal we can expect in public governance? Because ma'am is actually in public governance and public administration. So what kind of new normal we can expect? in
What?
public governance.
Okay, I got your question. Ma'am, he's asking what kind of new normal can we expect in public governance?
You're already seeing it, that, the single greatest change which I am making, quick decision making, an ability to quickly change to the changing situation. That was not characteristic of governance. Governance is a slow process. We have this huge multilithic entity called governance, been working in silos, many of them not talking to each other. Now we were able to just come together very quickly. And it is an incredible effort. There have been lapses, I'm sure. But it was also an example where, we were all sitting at the table together. Even I teamed up with the Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences in Bangalore in order to do awareness dissemination. So this is two totally different departments coming together. Very quick turnarounds in decisions depending on the situation. This was being done at an individual level. The IAS, for example, are situational managers. But at an institutional level, this was demonstrated during COVID. So agility in decision making, the nimble changes to adapt as the situation demands, I think that is the single biggest change that we have seen in governments.
Dr. Rajesh, you heard that? Any other questions? I think today the audio being a problem, I think most of the people who are asking is unable to get through, looks like. Though Dr. Rajesh, who's from Rajdhani Business School, he was supposed to be giving the vote of thanks. I'm just wondering whether his audio will reach us. Ma'am, on behalf of Trivandrum Management Association, I extend my heartfelt gratitude for taking your time and energy and effort, despite the technological glitches, to be here. And we would like to associate in future in whichever way possible. Whenever there is any event that you are a part of in God's own country, please do let us know. We would definitely want to host you here and listen to you, because the kind of orientation, the kind of ethical values and principles that you have followed, and you have led it by example, is inspirational for each one of us, and particularly for the student community and all those who are in the middle management profile today. And it was exceptional knowing you, exceptional hearing you, exceptional taking the wisdom from you. From each one of us, thank you so much. And we wish to host you again whenever it is possible. And one of the person that I have met who's humble to the core. Thank you so much, ma'am. And I also thank each one of you for taking time out to be a part of this event, and also to the students, despite their time, despite their exams, they are attending this event. But for your profile, ma'am, I'm sure the participants wouldn't have been so much. Dr. Rajesh, can you hear us?
Yes. Hello. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I was just taking your role. I was just taking your role because I couldn't hear you.
I understood. There is some connectivity issue here. So
yeah, thank you. That doesn't. I'll do it, because I don't want ma'am to wait for us. Thank you so much, ma'am, and a very happy weekend and happy Holi to you.
True, and wish all the students the very best for their examinations too.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Bye, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.